Hello there, welcome. This is Farm Life, and we are glad having you there. On today's video, I want to show you how much it's going to cost you to start a 250 layer farm. Perhaps you have been thinking you want to start and you don't want to go big, or you don't want to start big per se, but you want to start at an amount that is quite, affordable, maybe from your savings or whatever. But on today's video, I want to see what it takes financially to start a farm of 250 layers. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time we drop a video. This is Farm Life. All right, our expenditure, or what we are putting as a different things that we are going to be purchasing, have been grouped under four major things. We have the first here, which is infrastructure. Now I have an X around my infrastructure because I'm not going to be looking at that, because to construct a chicken house per se, it varies a lot. Building materials vary from country to country. Maybe the cost of getting poles in your country might be cheap, so I've left that because it's not the major per se. It's not the major in starting. It's not the major because you can actually start without constructing a very, very professional house. You are starting. I remember in starting, you are trying to minimize cost while improving or giving best in terms of efficiency. So I've left infrastructure out. You can figure out that by yourself. Now we'll be looking at what it will cost you to get birds. We'll be looking at what is going to cost you to get equipment. We'll be looking at what is going to cost you for their feeding. We're also going to look at vaccinations and medications, and we are going to end by looking at other expenses. So, talking about birds, here with us in Cameroon, a good, maybe an Issa Brown, a Legons, Lawman Brown, they range approximately around 750 francs for a bird, implying that if you're going to take 250 birds, it's going to cost you, that's 250 times 750 francs, is going to cost you 187,500 francs for 250 birds. And take note, this is in francs CFA. So here we have the amount in dollars. So maybe in your own country, you can get to convert this and know what it can cost you. Perhaps you are doing an estimate. So it's going to cost us 157,000 francs. That's $310 for us to get our birds. Now, going to the second thing, we talk about equipment. There are a number of things that we need in terms of equipment. Equipment has to do with the different things, materials that you will need to make sure your birds are comfortable. You will need sawdust, you'll be needing brooder paper, you'll be needing a heat source, you'll be needing drinkers, you'll be needing feeders, and all of those things. So here you see my estimate for sawdust. A bag of sawdust goes approximately for 100 birds. So if we are talking about 250 birds, then we should be looking at getting 2.5 bags. I know it should be something different from that, but I'm getting the maximum figures. So we should be looking at getting 2.5 bag of sawdust. A bag of sawdust in Cameroon here costs 2,000 francs, and when we get the price times the quantity, it gives us 5,000 francs for 2.5 bags of sawdust. That's about $8.2. Now, talking about brooder paper, we need brooder paper. The first days of the bird on the farm, they don't have to be on empty sawdust. It's hard for them. They can easily pick things that can become harmful to them. Sawdust is uncomfortable for those first days. Maybe after the first week, you can switch from brooder paper to sawdust, but for the first days, maybe first 3 days of the birds on the farm, you have to make sure they are on a brooder paper, not on direct sawdust. And a piece of brooder paper goes for 150 birds, and for us in Cameroon here, a piece of brooder paper costs 1,000 francs. So we'll be needing 2 pieces of brooder paper that will cost us 2,000 francs. That's approximately $3.3. I'm right here, approximately $3.3. The third thing we'll be needing is a heat source. You can't bring birds from day one and just allow them. Places are cold. They need to have, I'll put up something about heat, but they need to have a heat source to keep the temperature friendly for the birds. So talking about heat source, there's this 1000 watt bulb. I'll put it up on the screen. That goes for 150 birds. It's quite good. The heat can be well controlled with that. And in Cameroon here, one of that bulb is given at 3,000 francs. That's the bulb and the lamp holder. And if you get two, it's going to cover for 250 birds. So two is going to cost us 6,000 francs, which is $9.9. And now, in case of power failure, you most probably are going to be needing a secondary source of heat. I'm talking about charcoal or any source of heat, but in my case here I have charcoal. And in case of power failure, you can get a bag of charcoal. Charcoal is given at 6,000 francs for a bag, and that's also $9.9. And birds at their early age, they need the small sized drinkers, and they need a small sized drinker, and one of that drinker goes for 50 birds. One of that drinker costs 800 francs, and we'll be needing 5 of those drinkers for 250 birds. That places us at 4,000 francs, which is equivalent to $6.6. And we also need pan feeders. We'll also be needing pan feeders here. One pan feeder goes for 30 birds, and a pan feeder here costs 1,000 francs. We'll be needing 9, which is 9,000 francs, equivalent to 14.9 or $15. Also be needing our adult drinkers. You see, when your birds are, when they are passing 4 weeks to 5 weeks, when they are leaving the brooder, generally we have to switch them from the small drinkers to the big drinkers, and the automated drinkers are generally preferable. It's true the cost is a little bit expensive, but it's preferable. They have a number of benefits. I prefer it to the drinkers that are manually handled. So we'll be needing 5 automated drinkers, and an automatic drinker here is quite expensive, but somewhere in this video I'll show you how you can get an automated drinker at a very cheap price and have it delivered to you wherever you are, in whatever country you are. So stick around, watch the video to the end. I'll probably drop the link somewhere within this video. So an automated drinker costs 16,000. I'll be needing 5 of it. You'll be needing 5 of it because 50 birds actually use an automated drinker, and since we'll be needing 5 of it at 16,000 francs for one will place us at 80,000 francs. That's $132.4. We'll also be needing our adult feeders. When our birds have exceeded, brooding, we need to change both their feeders and their drinkers to something that is more comfortable to them. So we'll be needing 13 of those adult feeders, and an adult feeder here is 2,000 francs. 13 will be given at 26,000 francs, which is equivalent to $43. I'll also be needing a bucket, maybe 2 buckets. That's the price is there, 2,000 francs. Also be needing egg trays. Remember, we are budgeting, so in our budget we have an estimate for almost for everything. Even our egg trays are part of our budget, so that your birds don't surprise you. You are not surprised when they start laying. You don't have to look for money. Everything should be part of the budget, and this budget is from day 1 right up to about week 24. That's when your birds are laying to the extent where they can take care of themselves. You see, people get to budget for their birds and end around week 18 or week 19 when they start laying. I've shifted this budget up to week 24. That's the point in time. If you get to learn from the channel and understand best practices, that's the point in time your birds should be producing at a level where they can take care of themselves. So we'll be having our budget for action. Now, when you sum all of these things, from sawdust right down brooder paper and all of those things, so when you have all of these things in terms of equipment, from sawdust, brooder paper, heating bulb, charcoal, small size drinkers, pan feeders, adult drinkers, adult feeders, buckets and egg trays, those are the basic equipment you need to start up your poultry farm, to start up your 250 farm, and it places us at a total cost in francs CFA of 150,000 francs. That's about $248.3. It's not very visible here, sorry for that, but that is it for equipment. And now, after equipment, the next thing we are looking at is their feeding. You see, in poultry farming, feeding carries the bulk of the expenses, because for the birds to produce, they don't just need comfort. If you have empty feeders, you have the feeders but they are empty, maybe you have the drinkers and they are empty, you will not have what you want. You won't have eggs. So Talking about feed, it covers a majority of the budget. Now, birds consume different kinds of feed at the different stages of their lives, from day one right up to day 60. That's from 0 to 8 weeks. They consume what we call layer starter, that's the chick match. And during that time, a bird consumes averagely 45 grams of feed in a day. That's one bird. That means at 60 days, a bird should consume 45 grams. Multiply that by 60, it will give you 2,700 grams to be consumed by a bird. That's equivalent to 2.7 kilograms in 60 days. And if you take that and you multiply by 250 birds, your 250 birds should consume 250 times 2.7 grams, which gives you 675 kilograms. And a bag of feed here weighs 50 kilograms. That's a bag of commercial feed for commercial layers. It weighs 50 kilograms. So if we slash this 675 kilograms by 50, you see that we have 13.5 bags of feed. And I said a bag of feed is equivalent to 50 kilograms. So you have 13.5 bags of feed. And a bag of feed will cost you about 19,500 francs here. It's quite expensive. You see, things are quite expensive here, but I know that with you, wherever you are, it most probably will be cheaper. So a bag of feed is 19,500, and when you take 19,500 times 13 and a half bags of feed, you have 263,250 francs. That's about $435. Come on, that's just for layer starter. $435.8 for layer starter. That's for most probably from day 1 to day 60. That's from 0 weeks up to week 8. After that, we move to the second category of feed, which is called the layer grower match, which you are going to be eating for the next 70 days. That's from day 60, another 70 days ahead, from week 19 to week 18. And within this period, a bird consumes averagely 60 grams of feed per day. And when you take 60 grams of feed for a bird times 70 days, it gives you 4,200 grams, which is equivalent to 4.2 kilograms for a bird in 70 days. Now, when you take that for a bird in 70 days and you multiply times your 250 birds, you have 1,050 kilograms of chicken feed of the grower match, which will be consumed approximately in 70 days. Converting 1,050 kilograms of feed to a 50 kilogram bag, you will have about 21 bags of feed. And a bag of the grower mash in Cameroon, if you're buying from a commercial agent, it can cost you about 19,000 francs. When you put your calculations and your mathematics together, you have about 399,000 francs, which is equivalent to $660. That is for the grower mash, which will be consumed from week 9 right up to week 18, or from when you see your first egg. That's how it goes. Now, the third kind of feed your birds will be consuming from week 19 to week 25, because our budget was from the day old up to the point when the birds are able to feed themselves. So from week 19 up to week 25, which the birds should be able to take care of themselves at that time. At week 19, you see that a bird consumes averagely 100 grams of feed per day. But at week 24, a bird consumes 128 grams of feed per day. But you get the average, that's the mean between the value at week 24 and the value at week 19. You see that average you will have a consumption of 114 grams of feed a day for a bird, meaning that in the next 42 days, that's from week 19 up to week 25, in the next 42 days, a bird should consume grams times that 42 days. It gives us 4,700. It gives us 4,788 grams, which is equivalent to 4.7 kilograms of feed. And we multiply that times your number of birds, 250 birds, you have 1,195 kilograms of feed. This gives us 24 bags of feed, which in Cameroon a bag costs about 18,500. And when you take 18,500 and you multiply by 24 bags of feed, you have 444,000 francs equivalent to $735. We have the equivalent in dollars, so it becomes easy for you to just convert in your currency and know what you are up to and know what you're working towards that. So when we put our feeding for the layer starter, for the layer mash, and the layer grower, when we put all of those three feedings together, you have a total budget of 1,106,250 francs. That's not bad, and that gives us this equivalence in dollar. That's $1,831.3. So that's what it takes to get your birds having food in their feeders every day, so that you can have the birds lay in time. Now, the next thing we are looking at is their vaccinations and their medications. And I tell you the truth, if you are able to handle your birds very, very well, you're going to minimize cost on medications. Vaccines, you can't keep that aside, because it's necessary for the immune system, is necessary to prevent disease and a lot of things. So you can't keep vaccines aside. But if you are able to manage your birds well, you see that the cost for medication can be minimized. But since you are doing an estimate, you can budget 150,000 francs for your vaccinations and for your medications. These ones, vitamins are not part of it. The warm medicines are not part of it. Just for maybe vaccines, you can budget 150,000 francs. You can budget, that's $248.3 for that, and you'll be on a good footing. All right, if you're following up to this point, remember I promised that I'll show you a platform where you can buy your chicken equipment at a very, very cheap price, and it gets delivered right up to you. You see, we currently have a course on mini importation. You can click the link and it will take you somewhere. You get to learn about mini importation at a very, very cheap cost. You understand how you can be able to import any equipment, any machinery you want of your choice, right to your doorstep from any country of the world. Now check out the link to that training in the description. You will see it there, and get to sign in for that course and import your own things to your own environment at a very, very cheap cost. All right, talking about our other expenses, there are a number of things that you still have to put in place. You see, you have a budget for multivitamins, you have a budget for deworming, you have a budget to do nesting boxes for your birds. That's where they will start laying, and those boxes have to be placed there around week 14, week 15, so that they can familiarize themselves with those boxes. You also have a budget for utility bills. Maybe you'll be using water, you'll be using light, and all of those bills, they fall under utility bills. And you have to get yourself working boots. You don't have to work in your poultry house, maybe barefooted or any kind. You have to get boots that you need to work with within the poultry house. This minimizes disease and just helps you. But the first days in the poultry house, you don't have to use boots. Please, you have to use your bare feet, so that you don't smash a bird, because at that age they are very, very tender, and it's easy to just put your leg on them. But in the course of the journey, you'll be needing working boots, and there's also labor here. But notice I didn't put a budget for labor, because you are starting and you have to minimize cost. You see, in business you have to learn to pay yourself, but those days when you are starting, there's much sacrifice that has to be done. So you think about it, how much can you pay yourself? If you'll be hiring labor, if you'll be getting somebody to work on your farm, think labor varies with different countries. Think of how much you can spend to pay for labor on your farm on a month, and then you can feed that right here and add it up to this total budget. And then I just have here a miscellaneous budget of 60,000. That's $99.3. Right. From the other expenses, we have 182,000 as our total for those other expenses, which is equivalent to $301. Now, our total budget from our birds to our equipment to our feeding to our vaccination and our medications, and then the other utility bills and miscellaneous and boots and nesting boxes, vitamins and multivitamins. So we have our birds at this amount, we have our equipment at this amount, we have our feeding at this amount, we have our vaccination and medications at 150,000. That's approximately $248.3, and then we have other expenses at $301, which is equivalent to 182,000 francs. When we put all of these together, it gives us a total of $2,939.9. That's equivalent to 1,775,750 francs. So that's what it might cost you to have your farm running up to a point where the birds can sustain themselves and they can start feeding you and paying you back. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bar so you get notified each time we drop a new video. Thank you for following up to this point, and come on, get to plan like this, get to have your budget written down, and after all that is done, take action, brave all odds, challenge your fears, and engage that project. God bless you. Until then, this is Farm Life. Bye bye.